So in the morning I'd wake up in the dorm where there's about 6 bunk beds, and then obviously I'd go to the toilet and wash my hands and get ready for the day and everything. Then we'll go down to breakfast, and this morning I actually had banana pancakes, which was so yummy. And then I would check the team points, where our team was actually winning because this year I'm a team leader. And then I'd save my apple core every morning and would all get ready to cycle down. And as we were waiting, Bree and Darcy were playing and it was so cute. So I just sort of watched them for a bit before we went down. And then when we were allowed, we started to cycle down to the stables. And as you can see here, I've got a couple GoPro clips of us just cycling down, because the stables are quite far away if you'd walk, but they're quite close if you just cycle. So that's so nice that we took our bikes and everything. And then when we got to the sort of bike shack, we just left our bikes there, and then I went round to the stable block that Casper's in, and he was in the end stable this year, and then I gave him my apple core every morning, which he very much appreciated, as you can see. And horses actually get fed their breakfast while we're having ours. The yard girls feed them, which is so nice and means that we can wake up around 7:45, so that gives us a nice lie-in rather than having to wake up really early to feed them. It also gives their tummies time to settle before we start riding and everything, so they don't get colic. And as you can see, Casper very much enjoyed rolling in his stable every single night. So in the morning he was often covered in poo, which was fun to clean, and his tail was covered in so much shavings it usually caused a snowstorm. Fortunately I had my blue shampoo and sponge and water and everything, so every morning he had to have a big wash to try and get rid of all the stable stains and everything. And for our tack and turn out, I always got 8s or 9s, which is so good, especially if you have a grey, as it literally feels like you have half the time that everyone else does to get ready and everything. And then while Casper was drying off, I'd muck out his stable, which looks so gross, I know, but it was completely immaculate before I put him in. So here's a little time lapse of me cleaning it out. And then when I'd filled up the muck bucket, I'd pick it up and take it through the yard. And soon you'll be able to see why it's a lot easier to take a bucket rather than a wheelbarrow. As we come around the corner here, you'll see the muck truck, and you can't really get up the stairs with a wheelbarrow. So here you can see I'm using my bucket and then just chucking it on and getting rid of all that. And then I'll just walk back. And then I just picked up one of the shavings from the side, and it was actually really nice because we got all our shavings for free this year if you're on my yard, because when we arrived the stables were absolutely disgusting. They were covered in like wee and poo and everything in them, so we had to like completely take out all the shavings and everything. So that was just nice that we were able to have like free shavings all week, so I didn't use any of my own at all, so that was really handy. And as you can see here, I'm just making Casper's bed, and I didn't actually use the new bale of shavings as the banks like you're supposed to, just because they were a bit damp from being outside. And then I swept up any remaining shavings, and his bed was complete and it looked so nice and clean. And then I just grabbed my wheelbarrow and I had to wheel it all the way down the yard to where the van is, because that's where my tack was being kept for the week. And it was quite a long trek, so I'm really glad I actually took my wheelbarrow to transport my tack in. So then when I got to the van, I just filled it up with my tack and then wheeled it all the way back up. And that, my friends, is the reason why on the first day of camp you need to get there early. If not, you'll have to spend your whole week walking up and down the yard with all your tack and everything because your trailer's so far away. And then after that, obviously, I would tack up Casper and get him all ready for our ride. And here are a few clips of us doing cross country. Unfortunately, we didn't get a video of all the jumps because she had to go back up to help with making the lunch and everything. And then after a ride, I would always hand graze him as a little reward and everything, because obviously they're in a stable all week, so it's nice to give them some grass. And then we'd cycle back up to the top again and everything, and then we'd have our lunch. And I'm actually vegetarian and Scarlett's vegan, so it was really good that they managed to cater for us and everything, so that was so nice. And then before you know it, you're cycling back down to the yard again for our afternoon ride. And the whole week at camp I gave Casper so much love, so I gave him so many cuddles and rubs and everything so he wouldn't miss Mickey. And then we'd be tacking up for our afternoon ride, and sometimes we'd have stable management as well in the morning or the afternoon. If we have something like dressage, it usually goes quite well. These clips are actually me tacking up for show jumping, because I didn't really get any clips of me tacking up for dressage, so that's why I'm putting like tendon boots on. And if you wanted to get high marks for your tack and turn out, I would definitely recommend putting a hoof oil on every single time you ride, just because you get so many more points, because it sort of shows that you've sort of put effort into grooming and tacking up your horse. And then when he's all tacked up and everything, I would just lead him out onto the yard and get on with everybody else. And today we actually did practice for a musical ride in dressage with another group. So I didn't actually get any clips of us practicing it, but I will insert a clip of us doing our actual musical ride instead. But while we were practicing, Bruce and Max were like grooming each other, and it was so cute, so I got a couple clips of that because it was just so adorable. So this is our musical ride, and the horses up at the back there are actually games ponies, and that's why they're so small, because they were going up to champs literally right after this. If you can't already tell, I'm in the green with my green matchy set, and we all had matchy sets on, which I thought looked so cool, so we're all like a different colour. And unfortunately I can't use the original music that we were actually riding to due to copyright reasons, so you'll have to like enjoy this no copyright music. And then after our lesson, we'd sort of hack back to the yard and everything. And obviously I'd give him lots of treats after our ride to reward him, and again we'd do some more hand grazing, and then you can just see everybody else doing a bit of hand grazing as well. And then once I put him back, I would start to make his morning and evening feed, so he just has 2 scoops of competition mix and a bit of Alpha A as well. And I thought you'd want to see like a little clip of how I sort of organised the back of my tack room in the van or while I was at camp. So I sort of had all my tack on one side and then the feed things on the other. And then we put all the morning feeds in order, so Casper's bucket was at the bottom because he was in the end stable. And then when our whole yard was ready, I'd give Casper his dinner, which was definitely well deserved because he was so good all week. And yes, more cycling up to the top, and then we had our dinner, and we also had puddings, but I didn't get any clips, but they tasted so good. And as I was the team captain of the green team, in the evening we would do evening activities which would go towards our team points. So on the first night we sort of did races and things like that on foot. And then one night we also did shooting, which was practice for tetrathlon, and I actually managed to shoot right in the middle of the bullseye, which I was so surprised about. We also had a talk from a vet and a physiotherapist, and that was so interesting, learning about all the different muscles and things. We also had a talk from some really high level eventers, and they showed us some exercises to do that was so interesting, and I'll definitely put them to use. And we also did a bit of Chase Me Charlie on foot, and Charlie managed to get up to 1m40 in the end. My max was 1m20, but that's still pretty good. It was literally insane how high he could jump. And this year we actually had some inflatable horses that we sort of raced on, and it was so funny. And then again in the evening we would cycle down to the horses, and then we would do evening checks. And I'm sorry about the quality of the video because it was so dark, but basically what we did was just mucking out and filling up their hay nets and water and things like that. And then after having a hot chocolate from the canteen and a shower and everything, we'd make our way back to our rooms and chat for a bit and then finally fall asleep.